So you have a test coming up next week, Thursday, on November, well, whenever we come back to class and you have your next A day, you have a test. I told you I'd make a video to help you study for it and prepare, and so this is what this is. Okay, so you'll see on week 9 of your class that there are some documents here to help you out, especially where it says sample multi-paragraph and essay exam response. You're going to want to look at that. Okay, so when you get an exam test question, you need to just reread it a couple of times and think about the question, and that's it. Just make sure you understand what the directions are and what the question is. What is being asked? Okay, so then you're going to want to think about the sources that you need to use to prove that you read and understand them, because this is English class after all, so you're supposed to have read things. So think about what your thoughts are and then connect them to the text that we have read. Your goal is to show how you can use the text to support your ideas. Okay, so pause. That means that you need to be familiar with the text that we have read. So if you have not, you need to do that now. So don't wait until you're in the test and you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't remember, I can't, I'm not prepared. That's not the time to tell me that. You need to study before the test. So good news, we have been preparing for this all quarter long. So look at our graphic organizer that I have a little handy link here to. Here it is. You have a copy of this in your drive, and if you don't, then you can look at week 5 and find a copy of it. All right, or just click on this link right here. So what is it? We have this question, what does it mean to be grown or an adult? This is the theme that the entire unit has been centered around, right? So we have read this text. Oh, look, it's a link to go there. You can reread it right from here, right from this Common Lit link. Click on it, reread it. This one from Psychology Today, The Marks of Maturity, you can read that. Marigolds is fiction, fictional story. We talked right here about what is important about adulthood from having read that story. And if you haven't done this yet, you need to also finish this graphic organizer and turn it in as an assignment. So here was my honest poem, just a guy talking about his life. He happens to be a legal adult. Do you think he's mature or not? You've got to think about it. Like, what can I learn about being a grown-up from him? So answer some of these questions. Safety of Numbers by Lucy Tan, we've just spent quite a lot of time on very recently. What is this story saying about growing up? Again, here's the link right here to the story. Go ahead and reread it if you don't remember it. And Rebel with a Cause, Rebellion in Adolescence. You can read that here. It's also on Common Lit. I'm not sure why I linked it to the Psychology Today article. Anyway, you can find it in all of those places. It's there and available for you to read. So that's your next step, is to think about all of these stories. So I'm going to give you a sample question. This is not the question that's going to be the test question, but here is a sample essay question. All right, here are the directions. Let me read them. Sample multi-paragraph exam response. You've read 3 texts, Ruthless, Marigolds, and Safety of Numbers. Write a multi-paragraph essay in which you answer the essential question for this text set. How do people decide what is right and wrong? Be sure to include specific details from more than one text in your essay. Okay, so what do I need to do? I'm going to have to answer with multiple paragraphs. I have to answer the question, how do people decide what is right and wrong? Okay, so my step 1 is first to just think about that question. So I'm thinking, how do I know something is morally wrong? I might think to myself, kind of informally here, all right, people of different societies and religions and cultures have different values, but I think that something is wrong when a person is harmed and that original intentions or negligence doesn't matter. In other words, if someone purposefully tries to harm someone else, that's wrong. If someone is careless, for example, if someone is driving drunk and accidentally kills someone, that's wrong because they didn't take the steps to make sure that they were driving carefully. So now I need to think about my definition of what it means to be right or wrong, and then think about the stories that I've read. So I'm going to go back to Ruthless and think about Ruthless. That is a story about a guy who poisons his own whiskey bottle to punish someone who might be trying to steal from him. He was wrong. I'm going to talk about that. I'll spend an entire paragraph writing a claim, evidence, reason, response in order to explain that. And what's another thing that we read? Well, I have Ruthless. Marigolds is another source. So I'm going to go back, think about marigolds, think how were people harmed in the story Marigolds. And I can think of Miss Lottie as a very obvious example of someone who has been harmed. I can remember that the narrator's father was weeping for a particular reason and consider why they were harmed. I might even consider how the narrator herself has been harmed in a broader way. Okay, so my second paragraph will be about the wrong that was done to somebody in that text and explain why I think that that is wrong. Safety of numbers. Who did wrong in that story? There are two main characters. There's the narrator, who's a junior in high school, and her mother. I would have to think about that paragraph too. So what I'm doing then, if I'm writing a multi-paragraph response, is narrow it down and focus. One paragraph at a time. How do I prove what I have already been thinking? So my, let's see, my answer is that people, if the question is, how do people decide what is right and wrong? My first step, come up with an answer. My second step, apply my answer to 3 different of the texts. Okay? You guys should spend some time going through this sample multi-paragraph exam response. I'm not going to read it here because you all can read. So here's my claim, evidence, reason for Ruthless, for safety of numbers, and for marigolds. With my overall answer being, when determining what is morally right or wrong, a person should consider if others will be harmed. Okay, so next week, Thursday, when you have your test, you're going to have a question that's very similar to something that we've been talking about all quarter long. And you're going to be able to do it. I have faith in you. Okay? Okay. Good luck.